Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here? Young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady, who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly. I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
Matt, she comes from a family of military service members. Her father's is a retired military service member also, who served this nation well with great dignity.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman. What white people need to understand
Just
is that,
white people?
Yes, please, let me explain. That national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner.
Oh, here we go.
Who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. Go research the third verse where he says, "There's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave. Both should be turmoil to the grave."
How's her parents do it?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask Jewish children to say a pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why
you would not.
you certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that.
America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her. America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others like her, support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country, and some who gave their lives.
And ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves afterwards. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggers in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then
so
why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So this not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
you all need to go back where you came from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go. And I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
What you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell. Get their opinion too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from whatever you're watching me from. Now, the injustices faced by black veterans in the United States must be understood as part of the broader racial state project rather than a series of isolated betrayals. Black people for the longest time have been betrayed in the United States. From the end of Civil War onwards, black American service was repeatedly invoked to extract loyalty, labor, and sacrifice from black Americans, while the promised rewards of citizenship was systemically withheld. The famous promise of 40 acre and a mule, associated with the General's Sherman Special Field Order Number 15, symbolized a brave moment when the U.S. government acknowledged that formerly enslaved people required land and economic independence to achieve freedom. Its rapid reversal marked the beginning of a long pattern. Black veterans would fight for the nation, but the nation will refuse to materially honor their service. So in this case, what the two people are trying to debate on is whether what the black lady did was right or wrong. And I think this is all coming down to you, because the black lady had a parent who had served the United States, but how did the United States repay them back? Probably she didn't see anything impactful in their life, and this sparked the debate, right? And this white man says that black people should leave the United States and look for another place to go because they're not showing respect to the legends of the United States or to the people who are making the United States be what it is today. Of course, I agree. They deserve to be respected and given what they deserve. But looking at all these racial things that are happening in the United States today, we need to take a pause and just look at things in the face of this lady. And so, I don't think it's fair judging her for what it is, because probably he, as a parent that firsthand went to war and served the United States, and she knows what her parent went through. So brothers and sisters, I'm going to let you watch the video. Probably know you've seen this video, but please, after watching the video, listen to what I have to say. At the end of it all, I think that you're going to get value out of this video. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this.
That Fox 26 interview with Quanell was not about the little black girl who did not want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. That debate was about who gets to belong and who doesn't. Because Quanell explained calmly and historically why a little black child may not want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, or the national anthem for that matter. He explained how the man who wrote that anthem was a slave owner who despised black people. He explained how black soldiers fought, bled, and then came home to a country that still called them slurs, still denied them the same freedoms they went and fought for those white people to have. He explained that freedom in America has always come with an asterisk for us. And so what did that white man do? He interrupted, he overtalked, he continued to dodge accountability, and then he pulled the oldest card in the book. Well, if you don't like it, why don't you just leave? And that question right there is the tell. Because white Americans cannot fathom why black and brown people will criticize a country that we still stay in. And that is because white Americans' nationalism is their identity, not principles. See, black, brown, and indigenous people have peoplehood. We have lineage, we have memory, we have culture that's older than the American flag. Our identity exists with or without America. And white Americans don't have that. Because remember, most of them were not nobles. They were not royalty. They were Europe's cast-offs, criminals, rapists, debtors, and the violently poor that were exported to stolen land. The society that put them on the bottom of the hierarchy rid themselves of them and then shipped them here, where they built up a hierarchy that put them at the top. They invented whiteness to cling to. They invented something that gave them a sense of identity, something they could invent that made them think they were superior, and indoctrinated everyone else by threat of violence and force and death to believe that what they were inventing was true. They wrapped their entire self-worth in a nation that they felt that they could finally dominate. And that is why they cling to that flag, to the anthems, to the pledge, because that's all they have. So when we say, hey, this country harms us, they don't hear a call to repair. They instead hear a threat to their identity. When Quanell told him all the reasons why black people believe that we should not have to stand up for an anthem or pledge our allegiance to a country that's never put us anywhere but at the bottom, that white man said, well, then why don't you leave? Because they hear a threat to their identity, that's why the solution is always for us to leave. But here's the part they choke on, just like Quanell said. This country ain't theirs. This country was stolen from indigenous people, built by enslaved Africans, and maintained by exploited labor. We didn't come here chasing some dream. Our ancestors were brought here in chains. So don't ask us why we stay. Ask yourselves why you won't leave. I believe they will not leave because deep down they know that this nation, this country, this America is the only thing standing between them and finding out who they really are, the type of people they really come from. And that's why a black child choosing to sit down for the Pledge of Allegiance threatens you, terrifies you, because it's not disrespectful, it's honest. Black people's relationship with white people in America has been one of narcissistic abuse, and it's just like a narcissist to say, don't talk about all the ways in which I hurt you. Congratulate me for giving you the smallest bit. Tell me how great I am. Don't look too closely about the wrongs I've done because that didn't happen. Just like a narcissist.
Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here?
Tell me why they ask us, why don't we leave? when they brought us here, right? I didn't ride over here on a boat because we wanted to. Our family was brought here out of no goodwill and used as slaves. And on top of that, to this day, people still fight like this white man on the screen talking about how, well, why don't you leave? Well, why don't we all stop the hate? Because that's all this is. To have any kind of disregard for a different race, you purely and basically are saying, I'm dumb. Because what do you mean? Different cultures are beautiful. Different ethnicities are beautiful. Even the white people.
Defends Mexicans and Native Americans.
I told everybody that I'm in remission. I am cancer free. And I want to thank everybody that has prayed for me, that has come up to me and been so kind to me. And you know what? The immigrant-free day. I think about these individuals. You know something? When you do what I did, when you work hard, when you do what you're told, when you go where you're supposed to go, and you pray to God, then good things happen. If one day you decide you're going to do none of those things, then what may happen is exactly what happened to these so-called immigrants, many of them illegal, who decided not to go to work a particular day to somehow get across some kind of message. They get fired the next day. Welcome to America.
Matt, you know, I am happy that you're in remission. To God be the glory. But it is amazing how you could beat cancer and be in remission and your heart still be so cold and hard. It is amazing how you would speak that way about immigrants when you call them so-called immigrants. You're right, they're so-called immigrants.
Some are illegal.
Because they're only coming back home. Texas, Arizona, and California were stole from the Mexicans. So they're so-called immigrants because they're coming back home. And when you speak about if you work hard and do the right thing and be good to people, well, guess what? That's not the history or the legacy of your ancestors.
You got to come through the front door.
White folk didn't come through the front door. White folk kicked open the back door and killed everything else in between to conquer America.
Well, why do you,
they were not good to people that they met. They didn't show hospitality to the Indians.
You're trying to avoid what we're talking about.
They didn't do that.
Here.
They weren't hospitable.
You're trying to avoid what we're talking about here, and you're going to go back 200-300 years.
What I'm trying to do.
Why don't we talk about what's taking place over the weekend?
What I'm trying to do is try to tell white people like you, stop throwing rocks at the immigrants when you all live in a glass house. You all didn't come to America the right way or the godly way.
Yes, you do. You do the things the correct way. And in 2017, the correct thing to do is come through the front door. And these are people that snuck into this country. And so we're all supposed to allow that to happen? That's not how it works. You're not going to get what you're looking for. And you got to work. You got to come through the front door. I understand that.
I'm saying they should not have to sneak back into a territory that the legacy of that territory belonged to their own people. But let's just say for the sake of the law, they broke the law. Okay, I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, brother, where is the human compassion that the ancestors of Indians showed your community? You all won't show that to nobody else. But you want it all showed to you.
Let's stay in America. There was no America back, what you're talking about. You're taking something and trying to turn it into something that it's not. Let's talk about the rules and the laws that exist in the United States of America.
This is America, but America the beautiful has been America the ugly toward too many people of color. And all we want is the same thing you all enjoy, the complexion for the protection.
Well, I tell you what,
all got in America. We don't have that.
Do that when somebody crosses your property line and wants to come into your home and sit down in your living room and eat out of your refrigerator without ever asking you or without being a member of your family.
All the immigrants are not doing that. So stop that, brother. That's a hype. That's a lie, and it's racist, man.
It's not a hype. It's exactly what they want.
They're not all doing that.
He was talking bad about Mexicans, and he got put in his place.
Governor Greg Abbott wants to make sure that Houston, the city of Houston, is put under the same microscope as any city that isn't allowed legally to be the quote-unquote sanctuary city. And this is what we do here in the city of Houston. People come into the city of Houston illegally. They're allowed to stay. There is only so much that our law enforcement officers are willing to do, that the DEA is willing to do, that the border agents are willing to do. Why in the world don't we go after those that are here? Well, that's what Abbott wants to change, and I agree. And as soon as we make sure that in the state of Texas, if Houston keeps conducting itself the same way that San Antonio and other cities conduct themselves, then no money is coming to Houston from the state. We need to do that on a state level. We also need to do it on a federal level.
But, Matt, my problem with this is Why are we so worried about getting rid of all of the Mexicans or Hispanics that are quote unquote here, if they're illegal or not? At the end of the day, many of them are paying taxes. Many of them have been here for generations and decades. And Matt, trying to get rid of 4 or 5 or 3 million people all at once is not going to work. We don't have the resources.
We don't have to do it all.
And secondly, Matt, listen, there is no such thing as an illegal Mexican immigrant coming into Texas because they're only coming home. Texas, Arizona, and California was stole from the Mexicans.
Don't start
this
that now,
all
man.
belongs to them.
That now,
So they're
man.
only coming home, and then here it is, you white folks stole the land from the Indians, but yet you're the natural, real illegal immigrant.
So let's start with the things you said that are already wrong. First of all, they're coming here. They're not paying any taxes. You're telling me they're paying taxes? They're not paying taxes
Matt,
because nobody
they
knows
are
who the
paying
heck they are. No,
taxes,
they're not
Matt.
paying any taxes.
Matt, when they buy a product, they pay a tax on it.
Let's continue
When they buy a car, they pay a tax on it.
You come into this country illegally. That is a law that you're breaking. And that's why they have to be sent back to wherever they came from. They want to come through the front door. That is the correct way to come in. And the city of Houston has to stop allowing this, or we're never going to get them to stop coming in here. Look, that's what we got to do. Follow the law.
But Matt, where is the compassion that the indigenous Indians had for white people in this country?
Why do you keep going backwards?
They let you all come in.
What are you going
and
backwards?
You came in and raised a whole lot of hell.
Don't start.
Trump,
Don't
Trump
start
called
bringing up
Mexicans
history and try and
rapists. He
explain
called
what's
them
going on
criminals.
today.
Trump called the Mexicans illegal criminals coming into America. Well, the biggest illegal criminal ever coming to America was white people.
So you don't give a damn if people break into this country?
I don't give a damn.
I wonder what's going to happen when they come and rob your house.
I don't give a damn about hypocrites who came here illegally and stole all of this and now want to blame them for only coming back home. To all of the Mexicans, don't worry about this. Just keep having babies, and in 30 years, all these white folks will be under your control.
To Americans, let's stand up and do what the hell we're supposed to do and stop letting the city of Houston be an open door. This ain't no sanctuary city.
Don't listen to
that.
This
is a real city.
Just keep having.
I think this is a fantastic law. It is time to start enforcing the laws that are on the books instead of the state and local officials legislating from their own little tiny offices.
It's an awful law because it's nothing more than a legal way for law enforcement to racially profile Mexicans and Hispanics. I would say to the Hispanic and Mexican community, what you got to do now, hook up with the black community and unite in political power, because if Mexicans and black people unite in Texas, we can control the governor, we can control the lieutenant governor, and we can control politics in Texas, period. I'm saying to Latino brothers and sisters, don't fight them by yourself. If you hook up with black people and we unite, I'm telling you, we can run Texas and then pass laws to deal with those who hate us.
You're advocating for criminal activity, Quanell. These people are not here lawfully. They need to do what our ancestors did, what many Mexicans have done.
No, wait a minute.
Many, don't interrupt
Your
me.
Your ancestors came here illegally. Wasn't nothing legal about your ancestors.
Listen.
They came illegally and they murdered, they raped, they pillaged a whole race of people. This country, Texas, Arizona, and California, belongs to the Mexicans.
Quanell, get back
it was
to the
stole from them.
You
so
tell
when
me
you
to get back
your
to the point.
ancestors, they came here illegally.
No, you're not being fair to me here. You say stay on topic. I say, okay, we'll stay on topic. And then as soon as we start talking about illegal immigration, you go back to the black issue. Let's stay on topic.
Your ancestors are the master illegal immigrants.
Give me the opportunity to respond in that, you know what, we're all Americans here. And if you are here legally, absolutely, then we need to come together and we need to pass good laws for enforcing the laws.
Well, perhaps the Native Americans should have passed laws against your ancestors.
Now, what I'm learning or what I'm seeing is that after Civil War, thousands of black Union soldiers returned home expecting land, expecting protection, and political inclusion. Instead, President Andrew Johnson overturned land redistribution policies and returned confiscated land to former Confederate slaveholders. White farmers regained their plantations, while black veterans were pushed into sharecropping arrangements that replaced slavery. Right. It replaced slavery in economic form. This was not accidental. It was deliberate political choice to reconcile with the white Southern elites at the expense of black citizens. Military service did not translate into economic security for black veterans, whereas white landowners many of who had supported the Confederate, were fully restored to wealth and power. Now, this repeated pattern itself after World War I. Black soldiers fought in segregated units, often performing dangerous labor under white command, and returned to a country that rewarded white veterans with job, land, and social mobility, while violently repressing black advancement. Remember the Red Summer of 1919 saw white mob attacks black veterans who dared to assert their rights while wearing their uniforms. Instead of honoring their service, the U.S. state tactically allowed racial terror to reassert white dominance. Right? To reassert white dominance. White farmers and industrial workers benefited from post-war expansion, while black veterans were excluded from unions, credit markets, and land ownership. So in short, the injustice became even more institutionalized after World War II through the GI Bill. While the bill is often celebrated as a cornerstone of America's middle class, its benefits were administered locally, allowing segregation and racism to shape outcomes. White veterans received low-interest home loans, access to higher education, and business capital, fueling suburbanization and intergenerational wealth. Black veterans, especially in the South, were routinely denied these benefits or steered into underfunded institutions and predatory lendings. White farmers and white suburban families accumulated land and assets, while black veterans returned to overcrowded neighborhoods, limited job prospects, and economic stigmatization. In agriculture, specifically, federal policy overwhelmingly favored white farmers at the expense of black veterans who sought to farm. The USDA, operating through racially biased county committees, denied black veterans loan, crop subsidies, and technical assistance. Even when black veterans had farming experience, they were blocked from acquiring land or sustaining operations. White farmers, meanwhile, benefited from the New Deal and post-war agricultural programs that stabilized prices, expounded acreage, and guaranteed income. The result was massive transfer of wealth to white rural America. That was the greatest transfer of wealth to white rural America, while black veterans were effectively locked out of the agricultural economy they had opted to enter. At the same time, scholars emphasize that these outcomes were not simply the result of prejudice, but a structural design. The U.S. government consistently allowed local white power structures to determine who consistently allowed local white power structures to determine who deserved assistance. These ensured that racial hierarchy remained intact even as the federal state expanded. Military service became a tool for legitimizing American democracy abroad while maintaining racial inequality at home. Understand that black veterans were symbolically praised for patriotism, but materially denied the resources that define full citizenship. That includes land, that includes housing, that includes education and capital. So in sum, even after hearing all these arguments between this white man and black man, is that the treatment of black veterans reveals a central contradiction of American history. The nation depends on black sacrifice, but resists black economic independence. From the broken promises of land redistribution to the racial administered GI Bill, black veterans repeatedly returned from war to find that white farmers and white families had received everything they wanted, while they received little or nothing. So, these enduring injustices help explain contemporary racial wealth gaps and deep distrust towards government promises. It also underscores a critical scholarly insight. American freedom has often been financed by black service, while its rewards have been served for white citizens. So please, brothers and sisters, let me know what you think and feel about this video. I'm your host and presenter, Ejidok Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.